5pmnation.com.
Judge just blocked one of the Trump administration's efforts to circumvent rules in the Affordable Care Act. The ruling impacts association health plans, or AHPs. In June 2018, the Department of Labor issued a new rule expanding the ways small businesses and self-employed individuals could band together to provide cheaper health insurance for themselves and their employees. That matters because it allows small businesses to offer health insurance plans that avoid the minimum coverage standards established by Obamacare. As the judge said, the final rule is clearly an end run around the ACA. The key issue is the Trump administration's definition of a qualified employer group. Before the rule change, small businesses had to establish a bona fide connection to each other before offering an AHP. The new rule greatly expanded that definition, allowing employers to group together based on their industry or location. It also allowed them to form solely for the purpose of offering an AHP. The judge's order vacates the expanded definition. The rule was set to apply to new employer groups on April 1st. This is the second time this week the administration got bad news on its health care changes. On Wednesday, a federal judge blocked Medicaid work requirements for low-income people.
Oh my God, I'm president. I'm so rich and I'm an ass. And there's a wig on my head. I just FaceTime Putin. I told him I'm his biggest fan. Got so much scandal on the front page. Holy shit, let's build a wall. Ooh, I can tweet so well. Wonder if I can say the N-word. Where can I really say the N-word?
North Korea. North Korea. In North Korea. North Korea. In North Korea. North Korea. North Korea.
North Korea.
Absolutely not.
I woke up in Donald Trump's body. So orange, overweight, and slightly balding. Now I got no choice but to ruin this country. I can't believe that it's Freaky Friday. It's Freaky Friday in Donald Trump's body. I eat pizza the wrong way and I drink water like a widow.
Auto sequence starts. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's all be kind to each other and not call each other names. It's not nice.
Eric's right. Let's all be kind to each other and not call each other names. You bunch of jerks. I'm kidding. Welcome, everybody. It's that time again. Matt Connarton Unleashed. We are live on WMNH 95.3 FM in downtown Manchester, New Hampshire. It's a little humid almost. It's wow, first kind of humid day. I mean, it's not hot, but it's a little humid in here. Maybe it's just in here. But welcome everybody. Of course, we are on WMNH 95.3. We're also on Comcast channel 97 if you're in Manchester, and of course, you can stream us from anywhere in the world at WMNHradio.org, and of course on Facebook via Facebook Live on the Matt Connarton Unleashed Facebook page. And see some folks in there already. Let's see. Jenny is in there. Jenny said, loving the tune. Yeah, that song that I opened with, that's called Playtime. And that is by Villains, Villins, if you're looking for them online. You know, leave out the A, Villins. They're this great duo from New York City. And Kendra L. Saunders brought them to me. And I had the honor of interviewing them a few months ago here on the show, and hope to have them back again soon. But Jessica from Villains sent me the single, and I love it. So I was like, I got to play that. Maybe we'll play the other song later in the show. Let's see. Paul Bordeaux is in there as well. Hello, Paul. Bob Burrell, also known as Bobby B, in the Facebook live chat. Hi, Bob. Let's see. John Midas Manning, of course, also known as DJ Midas in the Facebook live chat. He has a show here, of course, Late Night Delight, which you can hear every Saturday from midnight until 4 a.m. and then also Sunday night, midnight to 4 a.m. right here at WMNH 95.3 FM. So great program. Let's see. Coming up today in about about 19 minutes from now. No, 19. I've been playing that song lately, that 19 by Paul Hardcastle, because I think today, didn't John Hopwood say today is, let's see, let me find the text message from him. Today is Vietnam Veteran Day, I think. Let me see if I can find that. But today at, about 18 and a half minutes now, we're going to be joined by phone. Oh, hello to Peter White in the Facebook live chat. Peter White, of course, from the morning show with Peter White, which you can hear every weekday morning from 7 to 9 a.m. here at WMNH. And, of course, it then replays from 2 to 4 p.m. And, you can get all the shows, too, on demand at WMNHradio.org. Oh, I see Chris Rose also in the Facebook live chat. Hello, Chris. Looks like it's going to be a busy day. Okay, today is National Vietnam Vets Day. So I don't know if that was mentioned usually on the morning show too. They go through the different days, you got something for every day of the year now. There's some sort of, not holiday is not the right word, but a day designated for something. So today is National Vietnam Vets Day. So, but coming up at 4:30, I'll be joined via phone by Dr. John D. Rich Jr., and he hasn't been with us for a while. He used to call us every week, and then it became more like every 2 weeks, and then it became more like every 3 weeks, and then I think then it became more like every 4 weeks. He's a big star now. He's got a lot going on. No, I'm just kidding, but no, it is, he does have a successful podcast, Dr. John's Neighborhood. But we're going to be talking to him in a little bit. Actually, he recently interviewed on his podcast Lloyd J. Schwartz, who I believe is the son or the grandson of Sherwood Schwartz, who was the creator of the Brady Bunch. So there you go. So we'll ask, I don't know what we're going to talk about with Dr. Rich, but we'll ask him about that. Of course, I didn't really, I think he might have said in the email he had something specific he wanted to discuss. And we'll get into whatever he wants, but, we haven't talked to him in such a long time here on the show that it's like, the conversation will go where it goes, my friends, because we're just going to catch up and maybe he'll vote in our poll. The poll is still up. I need to address the poll. I'm going to leave the poll up until Monday, so it's on the Matt Connarton Unleashed Facebook page right now and will remain there. On Monday, we'll go over the results, but I'm going to change how I did it, how I'm going to do it a little bit from what I said yesterday. We're going to do one poll at a time, and maybe we'll leave it up for a couple days, or maybe only a day. Maybe we'll do a poll a day, but we're not going to do put the poll up and then 7 days later we go over the poll. No, the polls need to be shorter, and we'll do one at a time. Otherwise, it's going to confuse people. So, and it's going to confuse me, and, you don't want it to be confusing to me because I'm the host of the show. If I'm confused, what are the rest of y'all going to do? You're going to be listening to the show going, oh, Matt's confused, now I'm confused, now we're all confused. It'll be like the blind leading the blind. It'll be terrible. So, we're going to do one poll at a time, but I'm going to keep the current poll up. And if you didn't hear the show yesterday, or if you haven't seen the Matt Connarton Unleashed Facebook page, the current poll, and you can vote online, you can vote right now. Polls are open, as they say. Well, except it's not polls, it's a poll. Singular. But we should probably save the polls are open for Election Day. That should be like an official phrase, right? Polls are open. And maybe it is an official phrase. I may have just committed some sort of misdemeanor by using that phrase to describe something other than voting in some sort of municipal or state or federal election. I don't know. And if I did commit a misdemeanor in doing that, I can't even hide it. I can't bury it because I could edit it out of the podcast when it goes up. But it went out live on the air. Everyone's going to know. But so the current poll that's up is who do you think is currently winning the war of words in the ongoing feud between President Donald Trump and the ghost of John McCain? That is the current poll. You can vote anytime. You can vote now. You can vote over the weekend. Please don't forget about it. Last I looked, I'm going to try not to look at it over the weekend. I want to be surprised on Monday with all of you. But the last I looked, the ghost of Senator John McCain was actually like 3 times ahead of President Donald Trump. I don't know what it is. It may be that even in death, he's simply more articulate than the president. I don't know. I'm kidding, of course. Well, no, I'm not really kidding. But you know, and he has been haunting us, by the way. Here at
Well, it certainly is your opinion.
Yes. As you can hear, there he is. You know, you just mention his name and it awakens him. So
Absolutely.
yeah. So the ghost of John McCain is with us. Perhaps the ghost of John McCain would like to talk with Dr. Rich, because I would imagine, because again, in just a few minutes, we're going to be joined by Dr. John D. Rich Jr. here on the show. I would imagine that the afterlife has to be quite an adjustment. I mean, I think about these things, and, you know, I'm not in any way convinced that there is an afterlife. I'm a bit of an agnostic myself, but let's assume for a moment that there is. I mean, that's got to be a pretty big deal, right? Like, you know, here you are on Earth, you know, you're walking around with like this body, you're in this body, you know, and you get to use your, you know, like you can use your hands for stuff and you use your legs and you walk around and whatnot. And then you die. And then it's like you don't have any of that stuff anymore. And you're just kind of, I don't know what happens. You just like float around or whatever. I would think that that would be rather psychologically traumatic. You know, I mean, that's just existentially, that's like a big change. That's a big adjustment, you know? So maybe the ghost of John McCain could benefit from some psychological counsel from Dr. Rich. So maybe, you know, we'll get the two of them connected, you know?
Oh, you're exactly right.
Oh, see? All right. Well, I'll look forward to that. Oh, Jenny just posted a direct link to the poll in the Facebook live chat. So you can cast your vote right now or anytime, really. Well, anytime before Monday at 4 p.m. when we come back. So anyway, so lots of exciting things going on. Did I give the date? I might have forgotten to give the date. It is March 29th, 2019. I always try to remember to mention the date in case we have to run a repeat. And this content is not evergreen. You know, I discuss politics and world events, so sometimes, you know, things change. Oh, another quick programming note. Next week, won't this be exciting? I know that all of you have been wondering, where is Glenn R.J. Willett, the people's mayor? I think there's even a song about it. It's like, where in the world is Glenn R.J. Willett? I don't know if I have those lyrics exactly correct. Jenny Coffey says, I voted for McCain. Yes. Well, that's, you know.
I'm very happy with where we are.
That's right. That's one of the reasons he's ahead in the poll. The ghost of John McCain. Wow. He's having a pretty successful run. And the best part is there's nothing Trump can do to him now. I mean, you know. Let's see. But, of course, there is plenty McCain can do to Trump. He's clearly haunting Trump just like he haunts this radio studio here at WMNH. It's crazy. So,
and I have never been an astronaut.
Well,
but I think I know the challenges of space.
Right. I mean, now that you're so that must be where he spends most of his time, is floating around in space. You know, when he's not here, you know, running his yap. I mean, he's pretty verbose even in the afterlife. But so people have been wondering. People ask me all the time. People come up to me on the street and they say, Regis, where exactly? That's a callback to a very old Letterman joke from decades ago. So, you know, if you're even 5 minutes younger than me, you have no idea what that meant. But anyway, so people come up to me and they say, where is the people's mayor, Glenn R.J. Willett? Now, of course, we used to have two versions of the people's mayor on the show. We used to have virtual Glenn, but virtual Glenn died and was dismembered in a terrible accident. So no more virtual Glenn. We did finally find out what happened to him. But next week, my friends, next week at 5 p.m. on Tuesday, Glenn R.J. Willett, the people's mayor, the real Glenn, with, you know, the body and everything, he in earthly form, will be here with us on the show. Hi, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed. Who's this?
Hey, to hell with Glenn R.J. Willett, and I'm going to shut up quick.
It's Willett.
Because you got your call coming.
Not
in.
Oulette.
Let's
How dare
start
you?
A petition.
A petition?
To force Trump to name the ghost of John McCain as the head of the Space Force.
Ooh,
how's that?
That sounds spectacular, because I think that...
Absolutely.
Yes, I mean, and he hung up. So, yes, well, what a stunning idea from from John Hopwood. And, even though John McCain has never been an astronaut, that doesn't mean he can't fly into space on some sort of craft, maybe shoot some aliens, pew, pew, pew with lasers. I believe that is the sound that lasers make, right? They go pew, pew. Hello to Christian Cunard in the Facebook live chat. Now, the reason Glenn R.J. Willett, the People's Mayor, will be here next week is apparently he is participating. I don't know if y'all knew this about Glenn R.J. Willett. He is a master thespian. He's appeared on Broadway. You might have seen him in some of your favorite films. And next week, he's going to be appearing here to promote his appearance as the constable in a production of Our Town or Our Town. Do you say our or our? I try to say our, but I think sometimes I get sloppy and say our town. Anyway, so he will be here on Tuesday at 5 from very exclusive window of time, though. It's not, Glenn's a big star now. He's a big, important guy. So he can't just, come in here and hang out for as long as, we're willing to put up with him. I'm kidding. It's always a pleasure to have him here. No, it was really, no, he doesn't have that kind of time anymore. He is in demand. He is a wanted man. You know that song by Rat from the 80s, Wanted Man? That's actually about Glenn R.J. Willett. Because even back then he was wanted. Even in the 70s when we all used to hang out together at Studio 54, Glenn would wear his white suit. Boy, could he cut a rug and some other things, if you know what I mean, because it was Studio 54. We won't get into that. This is a family show. I don't know who lets their family listen to this, but the point is, so Glenn's a big star now. So he's given us actually it was his publicist who wrote this note that was left for me. I'm kidding. No, this was written by Glenn. The reason Glenn's handwriting reminds me of my father's handwriting, in that it took me a minute to figure out what exactly was on this piece of paper, but I was able to decipher it. So he will be able to be here next Tuesday, April 2nd, from 5 to 5:30 p.m. In fact, it says, Matt, Our Town Playcast will be in on Tuesday, April 2nd, from 5 to 5:30 p.m. Okay, thanks, Glenn. Glenn has two N's in it, but the way Glenn signs his name, the second N and the first N look very different, which is interesting. We have another call. And I have to push the right button to answer it. Hi, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed. Who's this?
Hey, screw Glenn R.J. Willett.
How dare you?
National Vietnam Veteran Day. I'm switching my vote to the ghost of John McCain.
You're switching your vote. My goodness. All right. John Hopwood switching his vote in our poll to the ghost of John McCain. There you go. We'll allow that. We'll allow you to switch a vote. So if you're just joining us, well, hello to my old friend Phil Denoncourt, the third. But growing up, I just knew him as Phil Denoncourt. He joins us in the Facebook live chat. Hello, Phil. So if you're just joining us, of course, the poll is still up. If you don't know the poll that John Hopwood was referring to with that call, it is up on the Matt Connarton Unleashed Facebook page, and Jenny did put a link to it in the Facebook live chat. You can vote until 4 p.m. on Monday. That's when we'll be tallying up the final results. Who is winning the war of words, this ongoing feud between President Donald Trump and the ghost of Senator John McCain? Who do you think is in the lead? And with John switching his vote to the ghost of John McCain, I'm telling you, right now, without giving away any of the numbers, right now, the ghost of John McCain is crushing President Trump in this.
You're exactly right.
Yes. Hello to Dottie Davis-Thompson in the Facebook live chat. Hello, Dottie. Hi, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed. Who's this?
Oh, hi. It's Representative Hamer.
The Honorable Representative Heidi Hamer. How are you?
I'm wonderful.
Are you calling to vote in our poll?
Yes. Could you Could you tell me the poll again, please?
So the poll is, who is winning in this current feud? It's really the hottest feud in Washington, D.C. between President Donald Trump and the ghost of Senator John McCain. Who do you think is in the lead, getting the better of his opponent in this war of words?
The ghost.
The ghost of John McCain. Wow.
Absolutely.
That's incredible, Heidi. I'll tell you, everybody's voting for the ghost of John McCain. I mean, he's really, this may be his greatest victory over our president.
We'd never vote for Trump. I've never voted for Trump, and I never will.
Ah, in any kind of poll, I understand. Is that why you're calling, Heidi? Or do you have...
Yes.
Oh, very nice. Okay, I didn't know if you had something else on your mind, but this poll, I'll tell
No.
you, it's on fire. Everybody's voting. Everybody's excited. I should have done this sooner.
Oh, we're going to go try out the new Trader Joe's too.
Oh, very nice. Where is that?
Yes, in Bedford.
In Bedford.
Along with everybody else.
Oh.
They just opened today.
Oh, very nice. Well, that is outstanding,
Yes.
Heidi. Yes. And
Yes.
will you be attending Glenn R.J. Willette's production of Our Town? He's a big star now, you know.
We can't wait. I hope they bring out the birthday cake.
There's a birthday cake in the play? I didn't know that. Well, I'm going to that. I had no idea.
Well, wasn't there the birthday cake that he froze?
Oh, right. Yes. The cake that no one was allowed to eat, proving that you can't always have your cake and eat it too. Sometimes you can have your cake, but you have to put it in a freezer.
I guess it's frozen in different spots in Manchester, from what I recall.
Yes, that's right. You're right. Yes, the cake was divided up, I believe, and put safely tucked away in various freezers around the city, which I think is a fantastic idea. If we're ever invaded and a foreign entity comes onto our shores looking for the cake, they're never going to be able to put the whole thing together.
Nope, they never will.
It's quite brilliant, actually.
Yes. Okay, well, have a good day.
All right, Heidi, thank you for the
Enjoy
call.
the show.
Thank you very much. Enjoy Trader
Ta-ta.
Joe's. All right, bye-bye. All right, the great, the Honorable Heidi Hamer. She is a New Hampshire state representative, so wonderful to hear from her. And let's see, we have another call. Hi, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed. Who's this?
Did Heidi Hamer just vote for the ghost of John McCain?
She also voted for the ghost of John McCain. Yes.
Switch my vote back.
Oh, my goodness. Really? Oh, all right. Well, it looks like the ghost of John McCain just lost a vote. John Hopwood calling back to switch his vote back to President Trump. But I have to tell you, the ghost of John McCain is still way, way ahead in this poll.
I'm very happy with where we are.
Yeah, well, I don't blame you. You're crushing it. You are crushing it, Senator. Do you still say, I mean, I know that even, if someone's a senator, even once they leave office, you still call them senator, but you still call them senator when they're a ghost. I don't know how that works. I don't have a lot of experience communicating with politicians in the afterlife. I did have a very strange experience many years ago, however, with a journalist in the afterlife. It was, remember Bob Novak? I mean, he died, what was it? It's probably more than 10 years ago now, but he used to, he was a co-host on Crossfire. Remember that show, Crossfire on CNN? He had passed away. And there was one night I remember coming home. I get into the apartment building where I was living at the time. It was a true story. I get home from work. It was at night. I walk into the apartment building. I'm walking down the hall. And I swear to God, from the other side of the door of my apartment, I heard Crossfire. And I was like, oh, my God, what's going on? And I opened the door. I thought Bob Novak was in there. I thought he'd risen from the dead, but he was nowhere to be found. So I was haunted by the ghost of Bob Novak. Crossfire. That was the one thing I liked about him, except, boy, that didn't sound good in my headphones. I probably, apparently my Bob Novak impression, which is awful to begin with, is not something I should be doing into this microphone. It is exactly 4:30. This may be our guest. Hello, is this Dr. John D. Rich Jr.?
No, and there's no cake in our town.
Well, that's disappointing. All right. There's no cake in our town. Well, as long as it's in Manchester somewhere, the cake. Oh, let's see. Bob Burrell says it was Pete. Oh, yes, Pete. Our friend Peter Cochran. Hi, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed. Is this Dr. John D. Rich Jr.? Hello?
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 Hi.
Is this John?
Rich.
Hey, how are you? How are you doing?
Okay.
Haven't talked to you in...
Are we on the air?
We are live on the air.
Holy moly.
I know.
I'm back on the radio.
I even have... I brought the air horn in especially for you because it's been so long.
Okay.
That's an exclusive air horn.
Do air horns make you think of me for some reason?
Yes. I don't know what it is. I don't use the air horn for anything else. I only use it and will only use it going forward for when you join us on the show.
Wow.
That's a special air
horn. We'll have to get back into the regular rotation again.
Yes,
Things have been busy.
That would be lovely. And by the way, before I forget, do you have you cast your vote, or do you want to cast a vote in our poll that we have going on online?
Maybe. What's the poll about?
The poll is, who do you think is currently winning the ongoing war of words, this feud that has engulfed all of Washington, D.C., between President Donald Trump and the ghost of Senator John McCain? Right now you laugh, but right now the ghost of John McCain is crushing it by like 10 to 1 in this poll.
I'm very happy with where we are.
And he's been haunting the studio.
Well, I mean, I'm only laughing just because I don't believe in ghosts. So, like, from a literal standpoint, I guess Trump would have to be winning because he's the only one that's actually saying anything.
Oh, so you're voting for Trump. I don't know what more proof you need. I mean,
I'm John McCain.
See? I mean, clearly the ghost of John McCain.
Is he there in the studio?
He is here in the studio.
Wow.
I mean, you can't see him on camera because he's a ghost. But somebody's...
So what does he say about the fact that perhaps he's not a hero because he was captured? Does he have a retort for that?
I have a clear record of bipartisanship.
Oh, he's dodging the question there. He is dodging the question there. That's
for it. He's a politician, that's for sure.
You know, that's an interesting statement, isn't it? Those kind of remarks are very hurtful.
Oh, there we go. Just took him a minute to get to it. You know, those kind of remarks are very hurtful, apparently. So even in the afterlife, the ghost of John McCain is still very hurt by President Trump's comments.
He won't rest until he's vindicated, apparently.
Apparently, that must be what it is. I'm going to have to get one of my ghost hunter, ghost chaser friends, whatever you call them, in here and do something about that, because
that requires a cool hand at the tiller.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Ghost of John McCain.
Was there a sale like on your favorite sound app?
No, that's
John McCain quote.
No. Now look, here's what happened. So because I started this poll, apparently I summoned his ghost. I've been doing some reading. So I've been doing some research online, and it turns out anytime you have any sort of online poll or questionnaire or contest or anything that involves dead people, you do in fact run the risk of piercing the veil, as they say, and bringing forth an entity. I didn't know that. I didn't know that going in. I mean, I'm not saying I regret it. I don't want to hurt his feelings. He's been through enough.
Well, it would be interesting then. I've run into my fair share of Southerners who are still making the claim that the Civil War was not about slavery. So perhaps you could do a poll and summon the ghost of Abraham Lincoln to find out whether or not that was his intent.
How exciting would that be? Here's my one concern about that, though. So, because I don't know how this works. Like, what if the ghost of Abe Lincoln were to appear, but I don't recognize him because, like, I don't know if when you go into the afterlife, if you bring your beard and your big hat with you. So he could show up here and I might not know it's him if he doesn't have his beard and his big hat.
Yeah. Well, maybe you could ask them how old somebody who was 1 year older than 86. Maybe you could say, if you met someone and they were 86 and then the next day it was their birthday, how old would they be? And then if he says 77, then maybe then you would know
that
it was him.
That's a good idea.
Because who else would answer that way?
Yeah, that's true. That's true, yes.
Yes.
Yes. The ghost of John McCain agrees.
McCain thinks, yeah.
They're probably hanging out, I mean, they were both Republicans.
Right.
So,
Well, that's true, yeah.
Yeah, so there you go.
Is there a separate heaven for the Republicans?
Oh, I think heaven is for the Republicans, according to most of the Republicans I know. Like you, you get to heaven and you meet God, and he's got this big desk he sits behind with the giant portrait of Ronald Reagan on the wall behind him and a big American flag. It's all very exciting.
Are there any porn stars up there? Just in case.
I would guess no.
You wouldn't know.
Or
you would say no.
I would guess that there are not.
No.
Okay.
Oh, the ghost of John McCain says no.
McCain is saying no. Okay.
Yeah. So there you go. There you go. So what is new with you, Doctor?
Well, I mean, when I was coming on the show all the time, you would continually ask me about my book, and I would keep saying, we're still editing it. It's not out yet or whatever. But now it's finally out.
The book is out
for a couple of weeks.
Excellent. Congratulations.
The book is out. You can find it. You can go on my website, and there's a way to order it through that. You can go on Amazon. It's on Barnes & Noble. It's also at the Library of Congress, but you can't buy it from them.
Right.
But the name of so there are 3 books, actually. The main book is called Positive Parenting. So you'd search that title, and if you needed to fine-tune the search even more, my name is John D. Rich Jr.
Yes.
So that would come up. So that's the main book. And then there's another book that goes along with it that's like a workbook, where over the course of the main book I have activities for you to do, or journaling that I'm asking you to do to try to think about how your parents raised you, and think about some behaviors that your child is exhibiting that you might want to address, etc. So that one is called Practical Parenting, and that's the workbook. And then there's a third book, and it's called How Did You Get Him to Eat That? And what that is so the main book walks you through a strategy for identifying a behavior that you'd like to see your child exhibit, and then how can you use some of the psychological techniques that I talk about to try to make that more likely to happen.
Okay.
So the eating book is an example. It's a small book that just takes that that issue. Like if one of your goals as a parent is to raise a child who will make healthy eating choices, then it walks you through how you would go through those steps to try to create that outcome.
Okay. Now, so when you say it's 3 books, is it a 3-book set, or is it 3 books bound together in one book, or how does that?
Well, so you can, So the main book is the print version is $20. The ebook is $10, and then the workbook is, I believe, $16, and then the smaller book is $10.
Oh, okay.
But you don't have to buy them all together. You could buy just the main book if you wanted to, or you could buy the book and the workbook, which would probably be my recommendation. And then if the eating one appeals to you, then that's also, you can tie them together into a bundle, but you don't have to buy the whole bundle.
Oh, cool. Okay. All right. Very cool. Is this your first book, or, set of books or group of books, whatever the terminology would be?
It's my first book. It's my first book that is not an academic book.
Okay.
So I wrote a textbook at one point about research methods, which is really only obtainable if you're in academic circles.
Right.
So this is the first book that I've written for regular people who aren't academics. And the goal of the book, and my website, which is drjohnrich.com, is to try to take the very latest research on effective parenting and then describe it by taking all the jargon out and just using plain language and stories and examples and stuff, because my opinion is that academics write things in academic journals, and the only people who ever get to see them are other academics.
Right.
And it just seems like there's a lot of great information that parents who want to raise good kids can have access to, but you have to pay to subscribe to those journals, and I don't have to pay because of my affiliation with the university, so I have access to them. And even if you did have access, a lot of people wouldn't be able to even decipher what is being said in a lot of the articles because of all the statistical language and all of the design vocabulary. And so I'm trying to give you the benefit of what the research is saying parents ought to do or things that they should consider without having to wade through the dictionary every 5 seconds.
Okay. Very good. Hello to Fred Bonig, who joins us in the Facebook live chat from the Daily Ripple. And Jenny,
What's up, Fred?
Jenny has a question. She says,
Jenny!
Yes. She says, how does he feel about those who wish to parent without gender? Oh, great question. Do you have a position on that?
Okay, so there's actually a section in the book that talks about gender, and so the spin that I would have on that is that if you raise children or if you yourself are tied into very strict gender stereotypes, you're missing out on a full human experience. So boys tend to be socialized when there's a problem to tough it out and to try to, be a man, stop being a crybaby, or worse, being called names that are basically saying you're being like a girl. And so they don't get the benefit of being able to fully express the feelings that they're having. And that's not good. That stunts people's growth to not be able to express their emotions.
Right.
On the other side, girls tend to be brought up, if they're brought up in a stereotypical fashion, when the girl is having a problem, a lot of times the parents will come in and rescue her. They don't necessarily try to work through the problem and ask her to be brave and courageous and try to figure out a solution to it. But instead they jump in and, treat her with kid gloves. And so as a result, she's allowed to express her feelings, but she doesn't get the benefit of what the boys are being taught. And it seems like both of those are important. We need kids to learn to face up to their problems and to be courageous, and also to be allowed to express the feelings that they're having along the way. So I don't know if that directly answers the question that she's asking, but that's how the book talks about gender roles.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I would think, and and as we've discussed, I'm not a parent. I have no children, but I would tend to think that I would want to, if I had children, raise them without necessarily a heavy emphasis on, imposing some sort of gender roles on them, but rather just kind of, if it's a boy and he wants to play with dolls, or if it's a girl and she wants to play with trucks. I mean, obviously that's a hypersimplification of things, but just saying that, it isn't something that I think needs to be forced or even particularly guided in any direction. You just kind of let that go naturally and let them be who they are. And, I don't know if I'm articulating that very well.
It always strikes me that when somebody goes into panic mode because the girl is too much of a tomboy or the boy is too much of a quote-unquote sissy, and I'm not using that, I'm putting it in quotes so that nobody thinks, that I'm using that and approving of that term.
Right, of course.
that to go into panic mode when that happens comes from the kind of antiquated idea that you can do certain things to make sure that people don't turn out to be gay or don't turn out to be lesbian, or that people who are not heterosexual or outside of the norm are deficient, or perhaps that's a mental illness or something like that. And none of that, the psych community doesn't believe any of that.
Right.
So there's no reason to be worried about a boy who's playing with dolls, because he's not necessarily attracted to dolls because
Right.
he wants to come out of the closet.
Right.
He's using his imagination, and the dolls are there.
Right. Right.
But I might even say if he's playing with dolls and then later he ends up being gay, then okay, so he's gay. There you go. That's it.
Right. Right.
And so what?
Right, exactly. Yeah, no, I agree. Jenny says yes. That did answer her question.
Oh, good. Okay.
So it's great. But you said that there is a part about that in the book that you do address that.
There's an entire chapter that talks about gender issues, and I felt like it was necessary to talk about that because a lot of the writing that I do is advocating this idea of positive parenting,
Yeah.
which by definition, in my opinion, means that you take spanking off of the table.
Yeah, agreed.
There's no reason to be using violence against your children, especially if one of your goals for your children is that they are peaceful people.
Right, right.
They're not going to learn that. In fact, that was your own father's message, right? You can't teach a child not to solve problems with violence if you're using violence to solve problems.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's what my mom my mom told me, that's why she and my dad, made a conscious decision before I was even born that they were not going to spank me, because they didn't want to teach me that that's how you resolve conflict is through hitting somebody. So I think that and I think they were correct.
To me, that's a fantastic example of what the point of the book is, which is just trying to encourage people to think intentionally about the traits and virtues and characteristics that you would like your children to possess when they grow up, and then to be consistent in your language and your behavior and your actions and the lessons that you're trying to teach, so that all seems like a pretty recognizable picture to them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So back to the gender issue, the reason the gender issue had to come up is because when I write about spanking, I invariably get trolls out there who say that I must be gay, or I'm going to make my kids gay, or something or other, whatever. And it got me thinking, like, oh, that's interesting that spanking, at least with boys, is kind of tied up with this idea, like, you got to make a man out of this kid. You got to make him tough, and tough. No gay people can be tough. And I would submit to you that I know some gay people who are pretty tough. So that's out the window. But regardless of that, as a result of writing all this stuff, that's when it started to really click for me that there's a lot of stuff with discipline and gender that's kind of conflated.
Yeah. I think, too, and opinions vary on this, because some people think it's some sort of choice, which I think is absurd. But I'm pretty sure that, regardless of what you do, there really probably isn't much, and, if your kid turns out to be gay, like you said, so what? But regardless, there isn't much chance of there being anything that you can do as a parent that is going to actionably cause your child to be gay. Your kid's either going to be gay or they're not, and so people need.
Except if you're in a very conservative religious community, you're definitely going to find people. In fact, I can think of somebody right now who would say that gay and lesbian, like all that stuff, that's not a characteristic of a person. That's a choice that they're making to participate in that lifestyle, and that lifestyle is immoral. And to be honest, the Bible does say that gay people are going to hell, and it says that if you know a gay person, you should stone them to death. And I don't know any conservative Christians who are advocating stoning them to death. So if you're going to take the Bible literally, I don't want to get in trouble here by saying that I'm advocating that you go find somebody and stone them to death. But if you really feel like you got to take it at it, as the literal word of God, it does say that. Right. And right after that, it tells you you're not allowed to eat shellfish.
Exactly.
So no lobster, no shrimp, none of that stuff.
Yeah. Well, folks, for whatever reason, who are really into the idea of taking the Bible literally, they tend to hyper focus on that one thing.
Gay part.
The gay part, yes. They're very, very, they're not concerned about, whether or not it's okay to eat shellfish. But they're very, very concerned about the gay thing. That is top of mind for many of these folks for whatever. You might even say they're a bit preoccupied with it. I've always found that quite fascinating. But
and I don't know if you know this, but the Bible's also anti-masturbation. So
yes.
I don't know what about that. Why can't I think the conservative Christians should have a definite platform about no masturbating.
Right. Well, all I know is
where is that? Why, I would like to support that. I would like to donate to that campaign that Christians stop masturbating.
Well, all I know is I was once told by a urologist that it's actually very important to, and these were his exact words, quote, keep the pipes clean for your health and to avoid, and actually to help, and this is documented, to help avoid prostate issues like prostate cancer, for example. You're less likely to get it, apparently, if you, quote unquote, keep the pipes clean. So,
so this is the only reason that you do it, I imagine, right? You're just following doctor's orders.
Well, I mean, if we don't want to. That's for the other. That's for the other show that I do. That's for Matt Connarton Unsheathed, and that's a very different show, and it's only available on the dark web and not here on FM radio, and I am legally prohibited from telling you how to find it. So, but that's but that's for.
Can I ask? Am I allowed to ask John McCain? Did John McCain masturbate?
Oh well, I mean, I don't know if he's
not answering that.
I don't know if he wants to.
It's all about the future.
Yeah, he's only interested in the future. He's not interested in the past.
It's all about the future,
right?
What does that even
that
mean?
requires a cool hand at the tiller.
Oh, I think that's our answer. Yes. Well,
that requires a cool hand.
Talking to the ghost of John McCain, it's kind of like using a Ouija board. You don't get the answer you're looking for necessarily every time the first time. Sometimes you got to be a little bit patient.
Well, that requires a cool hand. It's pretty perfect. That's
yes. Great. Yes, a cool hand at the tiller. Apparently, that's what he called it when he was with us. But so. What else is there anything in the book that would surprise people in terms of topics that you address? Is there anything in there that a parent might read and go, oh wow, I'd never even considered this aspect of being a parent?
Oh boy, well, I don't know. I mean, that would be kind of I don't know that I'm saying anything that parents haven't heard before.
Yeah.
But I'm so I feel like what differentiates me from a lot of the parent bloggers who are out there in the space is that I'm actually a psychologist, and I'm talking about the latest research. A lot of the bloggers are just kind of like complaining about their kids or making jokes or doing memes or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so I'm trying to provide a more substantial basis for why a person might choose these strategies that I'm providing. So, I mean, am I going to say anything where someone says that's never even crossed my mind. I don't know. I mean,
yeah.
I'd probably be more inclined to say that I'm going to say something in a way that you hadn't thought of it before, or I'm going to, like, the thing I like about psychology is that if you read something that really resonates with you, sometimes you think to yourself, like, I've thought that before in kind of a vague way, but there's something thrilling about seeing somebody put those words together in such a precise way that it, like, rings true. There's like an experience that you can have. And so I'm not necessarily going to say that the book is full of those moments, because that would be a pretty bold thing to say. But what I'm trying to do is try to take the things that I think most parents know are the part and parcel of raising good kids, and then provide some background and some stories and even some rationale for putting your best foot forward.
Okay, very good. Oh, hello to Ed Murphy, who joins us in the Facebook live chat. Ed typed a very funny comment that I'm not going to read on the air because I'm not going to push my luck with that, but it is in the Facebook live chat for those of you who are there. Well, very good. Now, so do you want to kind of, I don't know if you're pressed for time at all, but I did want to ask you what else you wanted to, because we haven't talked for a while. Are you still writing for your blog and for Psychology Today and all that? Is that all ongoing?
Yes.
Great.
Right. So I've got the podcast at IPM Nation, and then I'm still writing for my site at drjohnrich.com. I'm writing for the Good Men Project. I'm writing for Psychology Today. It seems like I have a foot in the door to start writing for a site called Psych Central, which is the American Psychological Association's main page, and Manchester Inklink, which that column is still being updated. So I'm still doing my writing. I try to write something once every week or two. I'll probably be able to pick up the volume once the semester is over, which is in another month.
Okay.
Latest one, maybe we can talk about the next time I'm on the show, because I do probably have to go in the next couple minutes. But I wrote an article about the Brady Bunch. I was watching the Brady Bunch one day, and I was thinking to myself, well, I haven't seen this since I was pretty young. And I started noticing that a lot of the stuff that the parents were doing in the show was pretty good, especially considering that it was 1969 to 1973. I mean, that was a pretty long time ago.
Mike and Carol.
People were even
Mike and Carol were
positive parenting.
They were good parents.
Yeah, they were pretty good. I mean, there are certainly episodes where they have some strategies that are more like trying to make the kids feel guilty, or
right.
There are times where they're not quite understanding what's going on, or they give some pretty poor advice. But for the most part, the show is a pretty good model of the kinds of things that you were looking for. So I wrote this article about a particular episode of the Brady Bunch. You can find it on Manchester Inklink or, any of the other places that I mentioned. And then I broke it down, and I was like, this is what the parents did. Like, here's the situation, and here's what the parents did. And, like, here are 4 things that I notice as a psychological researcher that the parents are doing right. And I focused on that. And within a couple hours, I got an email from Lloyd Schwartz, who is the son of Sherwood, who was the producer of the show. He also produced Gilligan's Island and a couple other things before that. And Lloyd produced the last 2 seasons with his father.
Oh,
and he got in touch and said, I like the article, and a lot of people think that the Brady Bunch is kind of a joke, but there was some intentionality about the show trying to have, good parents who were raising good kids. And So I invited him to be on the podcast, and my interview with him just went up last Friday. So
yeah.
if anyone wants to check that out, that's ipmnation.com. And then if you just go to /DJN for Dr. John's Neighborhood, that's the name of the show, then you'll see it there at the bottom. That's probably the easiest way to advise people on the radio to find it. But I got to interview Lloyd Schwartz about it. He gave me all sorts of background information about the show. He was the one that threw the football into Marsha's nose in that very famous episode where... Oh, you have that.
Yes.
Great. Yes. So there was, there's some like behind the scenes information that he provided, and they're actually doing a renovation show now. I don't know if you know that, but
who is
like on HGTV. It's coming out in September, but they're filming it now.
Okay.
Where they bought a house in California, and then they're renovating it to look like the actual Brady house from the show.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then some of the cast members are there, in the episode and everything. So
yeah.
So that was pretty exciting. It's like a little brush with greatness right there. And
yeah.
But beyond that, the Brady Bunch is turning into a pretty interesting area. Like, I'm thinking that it might be interesting to start watching more shows especially more current shows that have parents in them, and trying to analyze, what are some good examples, or what are some things that happen that are clearly leading to some negative outcomes. And maybe that would be another way to try to write about these things in an accessible way for people.
Have you seen the show Modern Family?
I have not. I know about it.
Yeah, I mean, that just, when you're talking about a show like what you were describing, that was that came to mind. I think it's still going. I haven't seen it in a while, but I used to watch it, and that sounds like it might be right up your alley.
Yeah, I did write an article not too long ago about The Simpsons, and I talked about Homer.
Oh yeah,
as like an anti-dad.
Yes,
that Homer is basically the opposite of what you would want.
Right.
And that sometimes comedy is that. Comedy is displaying the worst of human behavior and then allowing us to feel superior to it.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
But I think that what I would like is, instead of, a lot of sitcoms, especially current ones and ones, in the past 10 years, in my opinion, the portrayal of the parents is just that they're complete morons, or they're tangential to the script. It's not really about the parents. And so, anybody out there who has an idea about a show that is presenting a positive and nuanced approach to how parents can interact with their children, I'd be happy to have them send me an email or send you a message, and you can forward it to me.
Absolutely.
I'm open-minded about it.
I hear people make that complaint, by the way, specifically about how, and it's usually more conservative-minded people who say this, but people complain about how fathers specifically, I don't hear them complain about how moms are portrayed, but how fathers are portrayed as sort of these clueless bumblers in a lot of these sitcoms, which there might be some truth to, but I don't think it's the terrible problem that they think it is.
Yeah.
But
well, one of the things about the Brady Bunch is that dad is a pretty strong father figure.
Yes.
He never hits his kids, but he raises his voice and he uses his authority. And as I was watching the show, because I watched every episode of the show when I dove into this.
Oh, wow.
And all in a very short amount of time, to try to absorb what I was seeing, what the patterns were.
Yeah.
And that show is pretty, in terms of gender equality and sexism, it's pretty bad.
Yeah. A product of its time in some ways, yeah. Sure.
It's a product of its time. But I just wanted to put that out there because Jenny asked the question about gender. And so here I am talking about how great the Brady Bunch, and I do want to acknowledge that that the way that they handle gender, and then in the last season they have an episode about race that's actually pretty offensive, in my opinion. They don't mean it to be offensive.
Right. I don't even remember
by
that.
Today's standards, it's kind of they have this family who lives in the neighborhood, and they adopt 3 kids, and one of them's white, and one of them's Asian, and the other one's black. And one of the neighbors is racist and has something to say about it, and the parents stand up to her. And so that part is pretty good.
I never even saw that episode. I wonder if I wonder if the stage, because I used to watch, reruns of the Brady Bunch when I was a kid on Channel 56 out of Boston up here. I wonder if they passed on that particular episode.
I don't know. There were definitely episodes that I saw when I was watching them all, and I was like, I barely remember this one. So I'm sure that the rotation, there's a lot of oh my nose, and the ones with the singing, and You Broke Mom's Favorite Vase. There are certain ones that probably get played an awful lot, and this one probably not.
Mom always said, "Don't play ball in the house." Hey,
Exactly.
Wait, no, I think maybe I do remember that race episode though now, because isn't there a kind of a twist on it where the white kid that they adopted, they actually got from the Bradys because they wanted to get rid of Oliver?
No.
Oh, okay. Oh, all right.
Nope.
Oh, okay. I'm confused then.
But Oliver is pretty bad.
Yeah.
And, that's the interesting thing about Oliver is I remember him being just a pain in the butt and not likable at all.
Well, he was an interloper. It's like you're all settled in with this family, and then all of a sudden this extra dude shows up. I'm actually Facebook friends.
None of them were cute anymore, so you had to try to bring in a cute kid.
Right. Yeah.
So my recollection was that this, I didn't like this kid.
Right. Yeah.
And then when you watch it, he's only in 3 episodes. Doesn't he seem like he looms a lot larger because he's kind of painting the waters? But he's only in 3 episodes.
I'm actually
he's barely there.
I'm Facebook friends with Robbie Rist, the actor who played Oliver.
Are you?
Yeah, I've never met him in person, but we have some mutual friends. Yeah, Robbie Rist is his name. Nice guy. But
can you try to get me in touch with him?
Oh, that's a good idea, because you just did the interview with Lloyd J. Schwartz. That's a great idea. Yes, yeah. I will connect you with him. And one other question about that, because I know you got to go, but is it jarring when you're binge watching the Brady Bunch and all of a sudden there's this episode where all the males in the cast suddenly have perms?
Yeah, well, and the other thing is that Robert Reed, at a certain point, I think it's late in season 3, he not only gets the perm, which he keeps all the way through the end, but every shirt that he wears, he has 3 buttons unbuttoned. He's he's showing his chest a little much for a father with 6 children, in my opinion. It's a little risque.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it'd be one thing if...
I don't know what John McCain would think about that, but...
Yeah. I mean, it would be one thing if it was just him and Mrs. Brady. But, you got Alice there, too. It's like, do you really want to be showing off the chest with a single lady in the house as well?
I do know this. Jamming gaydar is not a federal responsibility.
I don't know what that has to do with anything, John.
I don't know what the connection is.
The ghost of John McCain is very, very vulgar at times.
That's an interesting statement, isn't it?
He was like that in...
Look, I'm a big boy.
Well, I know, but you're out of control there, ghost of John McCain. Well...
Hey, Matt, you need to teach me, how to get a hold of clips like that and stuff. That would be so funny to add to my show. If I don't know how to do any of that stuff, so maybe we can talk off the air. But.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, the easiest way is create some sort of online poll with the entity whom you wish to summon. And because from what I've read, they get kind of bored. They don't even have bodies. They're just kind of floating around out there, and they need something to do. And then, someone summons them, and then they show up, and then they haunt you forever. Which, so it's a double-edged sword. But I'll help you with that.
It is a double-edged sword.
I'll help you with that. Absolutely. All right, Doctor. Well, thank you so much. Do you want to give your website one more time, and anything else you want folks to know?
Sure, it's drjohnrich.com. That you don't spell out the word doctor. It's just drjohnrich.com. I'm actually currently looking for people who want to contribute. If you have a parenting story of your own or something that you're interested in writing about or something that you're interested in having me write about, I'm looking for some contributors at this moment. And then the book is called Positive Parenting. The easiest way to find that would be on Amazon.
All right. Fantastic. Well, we do need to get back to doing this more often because this is always a pleasure.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. Whenever's convenient for you, we'll make it happen. And this has been great. It's great to talk to you. And congratulations again on getting the book out. That's wonderful. So
thanks. I'll reach out to you real soon about Robbie Wrist and the sound stuff and scheduling another appearance.
All right. You got it, brother. Sounds great.
Great.
All right, John.
Thanks a lot.
All right, you got it. Thank you. Bye-bye. All right, that was Dr. John D. Rich Jr. It was nice to talk to him again. I could have talked to him longer, but I think he,
Something suddenly came up.
Yes. No, he had to get going. But let's see. Bobby B in the Facebook live chat says Oliver sucked. Yeah, nobody. It is funny though the comment that John made about doesn't it seem like Oliver looms larger than he actually did in the series, because I was genuinely surprised when he said, he was only there for 3 episodes, but you know what it was? It was that device that sometimes you see it in sitcoms where if a sitcom has been on for a long time, particularly if it's family centric, family oriented, as the kids are getting older. In fact, I mentioned Modern Family during our conversation. I suggested Dr. Rich check out Modern Family. That's another example of this where, they add a new character as if the creators of the show feel that it might be getting a little long in the tooth, and that's what they did with Oliver. Let's bring in Oliver because the other kids are getting older now. Modern Family. Actually, something that typically happens too is if a baby is introduced into a sitcom, I can think of multiple examples right off the top of my head where this was done. Modern Family, of course, they did it. Some older sitcoms that I watched when I was a kid in reruns, All in the Family, when Mike and Gloria have baby Joey, they did it on Too Close for Comfort. They did it on Family Ties, probably a lot of shows. I think in the television industry, they call it rapid aging syndrome. All these kids have rapid aging syndrome where what they do is they bring a baby, all of a sudden one of the characters is having a baby and they make a big deal out of that. That ends up being a big story arc in the season of the sitcom. And then the next season you come back and in the season premiere, the baby who was just born last season is now 5 years old. And that is something that's done in sitcoms, soap operas, Dallas. I was a big Dallas fan when I was a kid, and I remember J.R. Ewing and Sue Ellen. They had John Ross, and he was just a baby, and then next thing you know, the next season, John Ross is 12 years old, and then the next season after that, John Ross is now 18 years old, and it's like, whoa! Oh, they grow up so fast these days. Bob, clearly not a fan of Oliver. Fred Bonig from the Daily Ripple did drop a song I could play, into the Facebook live chat, but I'm not going to play that particular one, Fred. Like I said, I'm not going to push my luck with that. But I might listen to that after the show, though. That does look funny. But Fred also posted a link to something on Yahoo about the Brady Bunch. Oh, this must be the episode. Kelly's Kids. This must be the episode that, it's on Hulu. Oh, okay. Season 5, episode 14. Yeah, because I have John was talking about the episode with the where they tackled race. I don't remember that episode at all. In fact, you know what? When I was a kid, and some of you, I know they talk about this on the morning show. Sometimes they talk about the Brady Bunch, but when I was a kid, and I would watch reruns of the Brady Bunch after school at the babysitters, when I was really little, on Channel 56, WLVI out of Boston. And it seemed like, and I know the Brady Bunch didn't have a long run. It only was on, I think, 5 seasons. But it seemed like there just were not a lot of episodes. I felt like I was seeing the same ones over and over again. And then I remember an adult explaining to me that sometimes these television stations, when they buy these syndicated shows, they don't necessarily buy all the episodes. They might have just purchased part of the series. Hi, welcome to Matt Connarton Unleashed. Who's this?
It's another Ridley call.
Dave Ridley from the Ridley Report. How are you, sir?
Well, I don't think you've forgotten me since yesterday.
I could never forget you. Your win song stays on my mind.
All right.
My friends.
The ghost of John McCain is still here, too.
Are you there, John?
Oh, yes.
And I don't mean John. I mean John.
John McCain? Yes.
No, Hopwood.
My friends.
Oh, John Hopwood isn't here. No.
Well, I like John Hopwood so much better than John McCain.
Oh, my goodness. Well, that's, understandable. I mean, John Hopwood, as far as I know, is not pro-war, whereas John McCain, even in the afterlife, I'm sure he's wildly enthusiastic about bombing countries and so forth. So I can understand that.
I don't think John is even. I don't think John Hopwood is even pro-Ridley, but that's okay. I like him. Well, I was calling to talk about a poll that came out in New Hampshire.
Oh, the poll that we have online, who's winning the war of words between Donald Trump and John McCain?
We talked about that one yesterday, and it has its place.
Oh, you mean
I'm talking about a different one.
Oh, a different poll. I'm sorry.
Marijuana legalization.
Oh, do tell.
So I guess this one shows 2/3 of people in favor of legalizing marijuana for recreational use.
Okay.
We can do it.
I'm not that surprised, actually. Are you?
Actually not, but it's still good to have some relatively hard numbers. This is an academic survey. One of the universities, I guess, put it out.
Yeah.
And, it was just a reminder of how, if the government wants to impose something on you that they don't want, they need, maybe 10% approval. If you like it, if you look at the the bailout in the 2008 era.
Yeah.
That's the level of approval they had, about right around 10%. They were getting 95% calls against.
Right.
And they rammed it right through. Gave the money to the banks that caused the problem.
Right.
But when people are 66% in favor of making a change, no change happens.
Yeah. Well, but we're getting there.
And I'm sorry, I'm exaggerating. There has been some change. This particular change hasn't happened.
We're getting there, and we will get there. It is inevitable. But what happened? See, I lost track now. The legislature voted to legalize cannabis in New Hampshire, right? And then the governor was going to have to veto it.
And he's all excited about vetoing it, apparently, last I checked.
Still, that's frustrating. I mean, I know he had said before he would veto it, but I was, he's not always an unreasonable individual. I was hoping that maybe there was some positive movement on that on his end, but then I realized until you called and brought it up, I had actually forgotten about that. I had forgotten about the vote in the legislature, and so I don't even know where that stands now.
Yeah, I don't either.
Well, it is inevitable. I mean, look, we're surrounded by states and now Canada as well that have gone full legal, so it will happen here, but it is frustrating that in the live free or die state, it is still not legal recreationally. But I hope I'd like to see something done federally. At the very least, they got to get it off of Schedule 1. That is also incredibly frustrating, but it should just be, fully legal. But me, and I think you and I agree on this, Dave. I mean, I'm very anti-drug war, completely. I'd like to do what Portugal did at the very least.
Oh, yeah. Well, and again, at least we have an example to look at now. If Portugal descends into a state of chaos as a result of essentially decriminalizing all drugs, then we'll have that to look at. But we don't have anything like that to look at. They haven't descended into chaos. Didn't the drug usage rate drop or something?
It's actually gone down. Yeah, things have improved there. Yeah, well, I mean, it only makes sense, and this is what I tell people. You kill off the black market when you bring it out into the open and you make it legal, and then you don't have all the drug-related violence. You don't have drug dealers shooting each other in the streets. That's the thing, too. You get these big drug busts that happen, and some people get very excited about that. Oh, look at all these drug dealers they arrested. But every time you get a drug dealer off the street, you create a job opportunity for whoever wants that job. And by the way, that's a job where you don't get it by submitting a resume. You get it by literally murdering your competition. So, we'll get there. I'm optimistic, Dave.
Well, the problems that we have, and there are real problems with drugs, they're not happening in an environment of drug freedom. They're happening under prohibition.
Exactly.
So if you're seeing a lot of trouble,
Yep.
then maybe you should look at the system under which the trouble is happening.
That's exactly right. Agreed. Yeah. No, we're in total agreement on that. Well, hopefully that poll. I mean, where was that poll again? Was that in the Union Leader?
I think Carla Garrett quoted it. And she was quoting a university poll, but I am vague on the details.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But it was New Hampshire. It wasn't nationwide.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it takes, public pressure. And for people who get discouraged too, we can use the recent death penalty vote in the legislature as an example of why, it's important to just keep pushing, keep hammering away. Don't get discouraged, because you really can. You can change people's minds. It takes time, but it can be done, and people can be persuaded.
Potheads. Not dangerous, just funny.
Right, yeah. Oh, Bob in the Facebook live chat says New Hampshire profits as well, tax money. Yeah, I mean, they could legalize it and tax it. I mean, what they did in Colorado, they're swimming in revenue from what I understand.
Yeah, the Colorado model, I don't necessarily like it philosophically, but I can't argue with the success.
Right, exactly. And Colorado certainly has not descended into some sort of drug-addled post-apocalyptic hellscape. Although I talk to people who try to convince me of otherwise, and they'll pull out some weird statistic that doesn't even make sense to me, and it's like, really, that's your argument for why they made a mistake to legalize? But anyway, what can you do? Anything else on your mind today, Dave?
Let it go.
All right, please.
Oh, you know what? Actually, there is something else.
Okay.
It was a weird coincidence. That there was that the big crime, at the hotel in Manchester day before yesterday.
Oh, yes.
Or yesterday.
Yes.
I got to thinking, man, what could be done if I was living in downtown Manchester with all the problems that seem to be cropping up? What would I do? Maybe a thing to do would be to start just a printout newspaper type thing and put it up on the nearest stop sign or something every week or whatever. And I was just thinking about that kind of idly. But then minutes after that, a homeless person appeared at my house in the rural area, suspiciously.
Yeah.
And, it was just kind of a matter of them sort of being talked to and then not talked to and then kind of leaving. Not super suspicious. You just never know if someone just kind of is doing their thing or if they're scoping a place out. So I thought, what I think I will do is I think I'm going to maybe post a notice in my neighborhood, what happened. And it's just, I guess with the connection with Manchester is just that there's this feeling like something needs to be done about the crime. And that was one of my ideas, the idea of maybe posting some kind of neighborhood newspaper or something. And if that was done in a lot of places, I think it would drive down crime, because they say that one of the number one drivers of crime is that neighbors don't communicate with each other enough.
Right. Yeah.
So I think maybe I'll start a little neighborhood newspaper. That will be my answer to the crime.
There you go. All right, Dave. That sounds great. All right. Well, please give the Ridley Report a plug before you go.
Oh, RidleyReport.com.
I thank you, my friend.
The ghost of John McCain appreciated that as much as I do.
Ed.
All right, Dave, thank you so much for the call, and have a good weekend. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, Matt.
All right, you got it, brother. Bye-bye. All right, that was Dave Ridley from the Ridley Report. We have a few minutes left if you want to get in with a call, 603-250-6007, 603-250-6007. It is Friday, and as far as I know, Rob Azevedo will be in to do live for Granite State of Mind coming up at 6 p.m. And, of course, on that program, Rob very often has live musicians in here. So they need a little time to set up. So for that reason, on Fridays, we do wrap up and get out of here a little bit early. Not such a bad deal, actually, getting out a little early on a Friday. So far as I know, Rob is in tonight. So we will be wrapping up in a few minutes, but we have a few minutes left. If you want to get in with a call, 603-250-6007. By the way, I don't know if Eric Gagnon, Easy G, if he's listening, but Eric likes to call in and remind everybody that we are on the road to WrestleMania, my friends, because, I'm a lifelong wrestling fan, and Eric is as well. And there has been a shakeup in the Trump administration. And what does that have to do with wrestling? Well, for one thing, Donald Trump is technically a pro wrestling character. He is in the celebrity wing of the WWE Hall of Fame. Because he was involved in a few different storylines over the years. Believe it or not, if you didn't know that, you might be surprised, or you might not be surprised at all. But also, Linda McMahon, who is the former CEO of WWE, has been serving as the head of the Small Business Administration in the Trump administration, and apparently she is going to resign as head of the SBA. Politico is reporting Linda McMahon, the head of the SBA, is planning to announce as soon as Friday that she's stepping down, according to three people familiar with the matter. McMahon is expected to rejoin the private sector, which I assume that means she's going back to WWE. Her exact plans are unclear, but one of the people said the wealthy business mogul intends to play a fundraising role for President Trump's 2020 re-election campaign. She was expected to join the president at Mar-a-Lago, his private Florida club, this weekend. Trump administration officials have long seen McMahon as a leading contender to replace Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross, who has repeatedly angered the president when he eventually steps down. We've had a little fun on the show with Wilbur Ross in the past. Acting White House Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney has also been eyeing the Commerce job, and McMahon's exit better positions him to replace Ross. Yeah, allegedly, that was actually the job that Linda McMahon originally wanted, was Secretary of Commerce. And, I mean, that's obviously higher visibility than running the SBA. Because you may remember, and even if you're not a wrestling fan, you might remember this, during the 2016 campaign, relatively close to the end of it, Vince and Linda McMahon made a sizable donation to the Trump campaign. Linda McMahon also, too, as you might recall, had run, I think twice she had run to be the senator from the state of Connecticut. Well, one of the senators from the state of, a senator from the state of Connecticut, and you know, lost in both instances. But that was I think the beginning of her transition from the private sector into politics. I actually wonder too if there might be something else driving this, in that Vince is beginning to devote a lot of resources to the XFL, the relaunch of the XFL, his football league, which it sounds, from my perspective, to be talking about the XFL in 2019 is surreal. But Vince is going to take another crack at it. It's funny, Jenny and I had to go to an appointment today, and on the way back, I'm not a sports guy, so I don't usually listen to sports talk radio. Usually the only time I listen to any kind of sports talk, because I am a radio guy, and I like to hit scan in the vehicle and see what I land on that's interesting. But But usually if I listen to any kind of sports talk, it's only because there's some kind of scandal happening, like when Deflategate was going on. That was very interesting to me. And, of course, the NFL, their challenges with players kneeling during the anthem, Colin Kaepernick and all that, whenever that's whenever that's being talked about, that's interesting to me. So today I happened to hit scan, and I landed on a sports talk station, and I noticed that they were talking about the XFL, and they were talking about how Vince McMahon seems to be dumping a lot of money into it, selling off a lot of his shares, which he can afford to do. I mean, he's a billionaire, a legit billionaire. I'm not, and when I say he's a legit billionaire, that's not in any way saying that someone else who claims to be a billionaire may possibly not actually be a billionaire. I'm not suggesting anything like that. I'm just saying Vince McMahon is legitimately a billionaire. So he's been selling off a lot of his WWE stock to put, to fund the XFL. So I can't help but wonder if that might be part of this too. Linda wants to maybe go back to help running the WWE because Vince McMahon is going to be running the XFL. I don't know. But we're going to start to wrap up. Rob Azevedo is up at 6 p.m. with Granite State of Mind right here on WMNH 95.3 FM. Thank you again to everybody in the Facebook live chat. Always love and appreciate you and your participation. Thank you to Dr. John D. Rich Jr., for calling in. John Hopwood called in. Heidi Hamer called in. If I forgot anyone who called in, I apologize, but thank you for calling in. And, as always, thank you to the ghost of John McCain.
Good luck. Good luck.
Thank you. Don't forget the poll. The poll is up until Monday. And it is on the Matt Connarton Unleashed Facebook page. Who is winning the current war of words in their ongoing feud between President Trump and the ghost of John McCain? They are continuing to be locked in a very bitter battle, a war of words, if you will. Although most of the talking is coming from Trump, actually, because John McCain is, he is dead. So,
well, that certainly is your opinion.
Well, that's the existential reality of it, Senator. But you're doing great in this poll. I mean, you're crushing the president. So, all right, we're going to get out of here. Thank you all again. Love you. Have a great weekend. And I will talk at you all on Monday. Bye, everybody.
IPMNation.com.